Good morning everyone. We are continuing the session on postmodernism. We have been talking about Habermas, Lyotard and Baudrillard, the landmarks in postmodernism and some of their stands towards the new techniques, new theoretical strand in general. So here Habermas, what he has to do with the modernism, postmodernism and how he tried to connect it with the enlightenment reasoning and all we saw already. Right. And here, now next is about Lyotard. Lyotard, his idea or how Habermas opposed or gave some kind of critical view about the post-structuralist critics like Derrida, Foucault. We have seen that as well. Now we are going to see how Lyotard takes this enlightenment reasoning and the possibility of modernity or the whole idea of something like a fixedness, consistency, grand narrative, that is the term which we are going to discuss today and which demands much explanation and understanding. Okay, so here Lyotard, for Lyotard, the enlightenment whose project Habermas wishes to continue is simply one of the would-be authoritative, overarching, totalizing explanations of things like Christianity, Marxism, or the myth of scientific progress. I just started explanation on this. That is totalizing explanations. We have, if you take Christianity, you take it as a metaphor for all the religious sectors, religious bents, which you people or the believers, the people in general, the believers in general, take for granted and they expect a kind of dependency, authenticity, all these. You impose all these attributes on any religion that you believe in. Another thing, Marxism again stands for the particular political bent that you hold and entrust all your credibility, expectation on that. You might have come across people who are much involved in party politics or some of the ideologies of certain parties, but they cannot think differently, they cannot tolerate other different ideologies as well. Some people are there who are very who are not that biased, who are self-critical, but you know how these grand narratives, these are grand narratives which you feel that you can stick on to, you can depend always on that. If you are a staunch communist, if you are staunch any other politics, or if you belong to a particular religion, and you think that you cannot tolerate other religions because of the reason, because you take that as the grand narrative. That is again an overarching, it can reach everywhere, it can solve all my problems. That's what you think in that regard. Totalizing. The whole world should belong to this, or the whole world, the people in general should think in the way I think. On behalf of my politics, on behalf of my religion, this is the way these people who are much obsessed with these grand narratives think. And again, a myth of scientific progress, another problem. I told about the Victorian dilemma. That is again, before that, you are much involved in your religious belief, that people were much involved and much confident in their religious belief systems. But after that, once science and its techniques, its ways and methods got introduced, people wanted to opt for that, and they wanted to give more importance and prominence and credibility on science. So that had a time when the whole people or the majority or at least a sector of people wanted to throw away all the religion, all the religious belief and go for depending on science and its ways. So here every one of this, but we know after all this, after witnessing all these different kinds of climate, time period, now we know that nothing gives a constant permanent solution for the human problems. So human problems in general we are trying to talk about in postmodernism. Actually postmodernism or post-structuralism, these modern literary theories try to locate the problems and understand the problems of human beings in general, the human existence in general. The former theories like modernism, structuralism, even new criticism, they tried to assess, they tried to interpret, they tried to find out the problems, loopholes, disunities in text. But even after they find those out, they didn't want to make a hue and cry out of that. At least they were in the they wanted to hide that like anything. Like, yeah, you find out a text to be disunified, find out certain characters and situations presented in a text to be disunified. But even in that case, you didn't want to present the text as such, that as disunified, in your interpretations or in your critical reviews or something. That is the difference you see with these modern literary theories, where you are more of a, you are now at present you are in a stage of acceptance of the situation, of people, of life, or the world in general. Hope you get the ideas. So these meta-narratives or the super-narratives, or in, to make it more specific, the grand narratives, which purport to explain and reassure, are really illusions. Like you talk about a particular religion, you say that, you claim that you get all the solutions out of that. You have a particular entity to believe in, to depend upon. But here again, you at times at least, you find it very difficult to cope with the idea. Sometimes you might have heard people belong very staunch believers, sometimes at least, at some point of life at least, giving up their religious belief, or at least blaming the particular entity they believe in for the certain fate, certain doom that befall them, certain suffering that is imposed upon them. You might have come across such situations where people making such comments. So here, it's about the, so Latter wants to talk about the illusions. You are depending upon this, you are depending upon that. You belong to your religious system or a particular political system. You know how political belief, even our own politics may fail us at certain point unexpectedly. You know how much unlikely things happen in between. Even the people belonging to the same politics, you know how many people, how they deal with the particular situations in a diplomatic manner, unexpected manner. That's why sometimes people change from one politics to other. You don't expect a particular person, a very strong candidate of a party, immediately, even after being elected from one, after being the representative of one politics, going to another one, after succeeding, after winning the election. Just think about that. So this is about the kind of incredulity. We are going to talk about the term, but these are illusions. Like you say that my ideology is good, what I believe is good, or that will save me from all the problems, whether it is about religion, whether it is about politics. At least for the time being, at least when you are belonging to that, you expect the particular grand narrative, the high super narrative, to solve, to find a solution for all your problems. But these are just illusions. That's what Lyotard says. Fostered in order to smother difference, opposition and plurality. Fostered in order to smother difference, opposition and plurality. Means that is, they are hiding, they are denying the possibility of difference. You talk about fanaticism, religious fanaticism, ethnocide, genocide. Why do all these certain people belonging to certain sectors are deliberately tried to be kept away from a particular region? You know about the political riots, religious riots. So this is the way nowadays, or even before, we know, see, Holocaust. What did this Hitler do with a sect of people belonging to, just because of their belonging to Jewish community? What did he do? Okay, so these are questions of much relevance. And that is why Lyotard talks about these to be illusions. Your ideas, the favorite ideas yours, favorite ideas of yours, favorite ideologies of yours, favorite religious systems, belief systems of yours, I mean the people in general. They take that too much for granted, so that they cannot accept this difference. They cannot tolerate the differences. A person belonging to other community, you want to blame. People want to blame the practice of other communities. They would like to label some of their practices to be very insensible, invalid. At the same time, they are practicing, they are doing that like that in another different way, that's all. Very surface level differences are there. If you talk about religion, if you talk about politics, just think about that. When one member of a political party is assassinated, a political assassination, think about that. The members of that party, they talk on behalf of humanity, how brutal the murder is. All those comments they make, and they hold some procession on behalf of the protest procession. All this you can see. The next day, in turn, they go for the same party, goes for the members are interested to take revenge by killing another human being. Maybe the member, but taking revenge, this is happening in between, and they are still blaming some ideology on behalf of the difference. Just a minimal difference may be there, that's all. So political assassinations, all those religious riots, all these are happening because of the illusionary grand narrative mode that you allow or you attribute on a particular ideology, a particular system that you are in favor of. Okay, so these are mere illusions, fostered. You are taught about this. You are given, you are injected all these in order to smother difference, opposition and plurality. Plurality means you talk about unity in diversity. We could talk about unity in diversity. But what about now? I don't know. Think about that. Then opposition. One person opposes you. I write 6 from here, this side, and talk about that. This is 6. The person who is on the next side reads it to be, the opposite side reads it to be 9. If he or she can come to my side and read it, it's 6. But otherwise, both of us will be having difficulty in settling the matter. There is a clear-cut opinion difference there. But yeah, let me come to your side and see whether it is 6 or 9. So let the other person come to my side and let him or her read or see if it is 6 or 9. There stands the kind of acceptance, tolerance, accepting of opposition, difference, plurality, multiple meanings are possible. So these are truths of an undeniable kind. But the question is whether if you are capable of accepting at least this plurality, the existence of such multiplicities and pluralities in a domain where certain grand narratives are reigning its rule in a very despotic manner. See, grand narratives you take for granted too much, you take it for granted too much, so that you do not want to tolerate any other differences, any other opinions, and that's why Lyotard is completely against this idea of meta-narratives or super-narratives. Which purports again. So here, hence Lyotard's famous definition of postmodernism, that is, it is simply incredulity towards meta-narratives. You are no longer worried about these grand narratives. I will get you a very metaphorical example from daily life, and so that you will understand things clearly well. Okay? Yes. So, incredulity towards meta-narratives means you are no longer obsessed with any of these grand narratives. Yeah, I belong to this politics. Still, if there is a problem, or if there is a problem in its stance or its members or its leaders, I will oppose it, because I am a person who can think in a different way, who can accept differences, who can tolerate these multiplicities. That's what is expected out of a thinking or organic intellectual. You are not supposed to be biased towards anything. You should not be blind towards the differences or something true and false. Just because a person who is a favorite of yours is committing an error, is doing something wrong, you are not supposed to support him or her blindly. This is the way you talk about the incredulity towards meta-narratives. Meta-narrative, another one simple meta-narrative I will tell you. You are supposed to be respectful towards a person of an elder age. It's a person who is senior to you. Think about that. That's again it's a part of a meta-narrative, that you have this idea of respecting seniors. Not just the senior students, that I talk about the relatives who are very senior to you. You should be obedient to them. You should never speak anything against them. So this is the way you are taught and born and brought up with these ideas. But think about the person, see certain criminals. They are elder than us. Do you think that just because of their age, we have to respect them? We have to follow their ways? No. So that is the way we have to put an end to this meta-narratives or sticking on to meta-narratives. You have to be very careful in reading, interpreting, following certain ideas, certain people, certain standards, just on behalf of the already fixed labels and qualities you attribute on them or these. Okay, so hope that is clear with the simple idea that you have an idea that is already given to you in this way. But every moment there is chance for something else to happen. Very aged people to commit errors, do something wrong, so that you are not supposed to support them blindly just on behalf of their age. If you are doing that, you are still sticking towards the grand narrative or meta-narrative. But postmodernism talks about the chance, possibility of everything, anything and everything to go in a different way, which is out of our control. We cannot always keep it consistent. You cannot always say that, yes, she's my teacher, he's my teacher, they will never say anything wrong. Everyone is a human being. So every time you are liable to go wrong. Some of your decisions, every time you make perfect decisions. At least at times you can go wrong, you may go wrong. So every time you cannot say that this is something like this, I stick on to that, they are holding power, so whatever they say and they do are perfect and clear cut. No, you should every time you should hold a critical mind. Critical in the sense, as we talk about criticism, interpretation, not always sitting here for finding fault with others. But in an interpretative manner, you should view things, you should approach things in an interpretative manner, in an intellectual manner. Your brain should work. It should not swallow things without water. Just because you get it from certain sources which you take as grand narratives or meta narratives. Can you follow that? Hope things are becoming clear. I will talk about the main example even later. Don't worry, we'll get you maximum examples at this portion, at this part, for this part. Just wait. Grand narratives of progress and human perfectibility then are no longer tenable. You want to be very perfect. Some people are very, sometimes they are very, they behave like perfectionists. Everything they do, they opt for, they would like to make it very perfect, really perfect. But here, Lyotard opines that grand narratives of progress, every time you cannot expect everything to be in a progressive manner. Every time happiness only for a human being at every point of time in his or her life. Is it possible? No. For every examination to score 90 above. Is it possible for any student? Sometimes it may be possible for at least one or two. But it's really fine that you score less, at least at times, so that you will be in a mood to work hard. Otherwise you feel that, okay, this is very simple for me, even if I go without learning much, without practicing much, I will get it clearly well. I will get it in an easier way. So those grand narratives are the perfectibility, progress at in a 10% perfect rate is impossible, especially in a human life or human condition. Then are no longer tenable. You cannot depend on that every time. And the best we can hope for is a series of mini narratives. I told you I am going to get you a very cute example from daily life. Okay? Yes. So at times at least, you people come across certain needs where you have to approach some of the, you want to meet or at least get help from some of the officials where some of your papers are to be moved. You are applying for a loan or you want to talk about your problem, financial problems. You want to settle some problem with your neighbors or even relatives. Certain property rights behalf you want to settle something. Where think about you are going and or the whole people of India, different people may be having different problems. If one is having property right issue, the other one may be having some financial issue, other may be having some other different issue, problem, difficulty. Think about the whole people, all the people of India going and standing to get these things settled down in front of the President of India. Think about that. Which is a grand narrative. If you talk in terms of this grand narrative, you take that as a metaphor. So, President of a nation is not easily accessible. Think about the later steps or the next positions. Even the chief minister of a nation. Chief minister of a state. Think about all people of Kerala with different multiple problems of theirs, making a queue in front of the secretariat, Cliff House, whichever. Is it possible for just one person to solve all the problems, or at least to meet the people in general, people in person? No. So that is how grand narratives, and think about the way you might have gone for solving such problems, at least talking about these problems to some of the representatives who are the political representatives, or people who are elected by you very directly, like some people belonging to block panchayat, village sectors, so that you can have more access to them and you can get things done in a far better and easy way. You talk about president of a nation to be the most powerful, or next other persons, other position to be more powerful. You expect them to be very powerful. They are almost like grand narratives who cannot solve things for you as the way you expect always. Okay, so here you are talking about approaching people at a lower level in the sense they are not as powerful as you talk about president of a nation, or prime minister of a nation, or even the CMs of some states. Here you are approaching some people who are more accessible to you, sometimes even the MLA, some representatives of a particular politics, whom you feel that they will do at least they will consider our cases at least in a genuine manner. The other ones you cannot even access directly. Can you think about meeting the President of India for solving one of your property right issues, one of the property right issues? No. You cannot do that, you cannot expect that. Think about How Old Are You movie and the scene where a very layman woman, she is actually the character acted by Manju Warrier is the representative of any normal citizen, a very common citizen, not in the sense normal, but common citizen who doesn't have access to much power. She is not one belonging to power sector. So when she gets there, she is taken to that place, how uncomfortable she is. She faints in the movie. And you can expect that kind of an uncomfort if you are in such areas where you have to observe certain protocols, etiquettes. But with an MLA or an acquaintance, even at a political level, you can talk things very clearly to them in a very comfortable manner. Some of them you are much confident about. Yeah, if I talk to them, they will do something. If possible, they will do something. This is the way grand narratives and meta narratives differ from mini narratives. These are lower level representatives like MLA or some other politicians who hold many kind of power, but still they are not that powerful, they are not seated in that higher a position, so that they are more accessible to people. In the same way, mini narratives function according to Lyotard. Now for this problem, the general problems of human society, human beings in general, we can hope for a series of mini narratives. A person belonging to Kannur, he or she is approaching one of the representatives in his or her locality person belonging to Calicut, a particular village, he or she can access some member, representative of that particular area, so that the problem is getting solved in an easier way. At least the approachability and accessibility is comparatively at a higher rate. But a series of mini narratives which are provisional, contingent, temporary and relative, and which provide a basis for the actions of specific groups in particular local circumstances. See, mini narratives are more comfortable because already you do not allow much, you do not attribute much consistency. It's inconsistent. Okay, a particular member belonging to a particular politics, he or she may be doing things in a very authentic and very genuine way for the people who the person knows for sure that he or she, this person who approached me for solving this problem belongs to my own politics. Another person comes comes to get a problem solved. Oh, this person, his vote was for the another party. So why should I help him? Even then, I will do for you. Definitely do for you. These inconsistencies are already notified, already given. You do not allow, you do not expect much, but you can approach in a very comfortable manner, at least without much formalities. Hope this idea is clear. In that way, that is provisional. This person who helped me to solve the one particular problem, this MLA who helped me 2 years ago to solve one problem. Next, after a few years, if I approach him or her for another kind of problem, he or she may be helpless, or the person's stand might have changed. But because of this inconsistency, that inconsistency even brings a kind of comfort. That's what I say in terms of grand narratives and mini narratives. So contingent, they are provisional. Contingent, what do you mean by contingency? You cannot predict something. Temporary, they help you. You cannot expect, you see, after the COVID-19 vaccine, you might have seen the different higher authorities taking the vaccine even before it is given to the people of the nation, so that you become more, you feel a kind of credibility towards it. People are worried in different ways. That's why they talk over the phone like do not even hearsay, don't pay attention to hearsay. What do you mean by hearsay? People may be talking about the aftermath, the problems, the side effects, but still it's preferable that you take the vaccine. But at the same time, if a grand narrative person, if a person belonging to the grand narrative sector, like the president of a nation, the prime minister of a nation, chief minister of a state, if they take it even before the common people take it, get it, it's far preferable, and people prefer it in that way. That's why that is shown in pictures like that. Media, they have been promoting it like anything, because you expect that kind of a concern, credibility on the part of certain people holding such powerful positions. That's all. So here it happens in a different way in different nations, but why it is told, it is given in that way. And again, you know, the side effects of this vaccine is different with the different people. Some people do not have any problem. Some people have much difficulties after taking the turns, like the first turn, the second turn, whatever it may be. You cannot expect, see, after the president belonging to my country doesn't have any problem, so that let me take it without having any tension. If you see like that, you are just sticking on to the meta-narrative, because that person may be having that kind of an immune system where that side effect is not there. You cannot be sure that just because of one of 2 or 3 persons without having any difficulties, you also won't face that. Even people belonging to same families, some of them are fine after taking this, some of them find it very difficult to cope with the side effects. So these are again inconsistent. So you cannot expect a grand narrative to be always credible, but you have the fascination and obsession for that. Sticking on to that, you try to stick on to that. But now you talk about the mini narratives where a person belonging to a particular family who is more accessible, he or she goes and takes the vaccine. This also can be taken as one of the metaphorical examples on this session, where the person goes and takes it without having any hesitation, so that the other family members feel that okay, let me take it, we also should take that for our own sake and for the other members of for the sake of social commitment as well, we should take it. I am not talking on behalf of vaccine, but still wanted to take that as one of the examples. See, this theory section, it's very preferable, really preferable that we take live examples as we take it in the case of teaching grammar and all. It becomes more effective. Okay, so which are provisional, contingent. These mini narratives are always provisional, contingent, temporary and relative, and which provide a basis for the actions of specific groups in particular local circumstances. That's why the first example becomes very clear. In local circumstances, you don't have to go and meet the president for finding a solution for your property right issue or some other financial ground issue, financial settlement related issues. So you don't have to go like that. Here mini narratives are more comforting, more comfortable. And postmodernity thus deconstructs the basic aim of the enlightenment, that is the idea of a unitary end of history and a subject. Idea of a unitary end of history and of a subject. There was a time when history was taken as fixed. How dare do you say like history being fixed? No, because Indian history was written by Britishers at that time. Why should we take that for granted as a grand narrative? Just because they are Westerners, they are told to be the power holding region, we should not do that. We should reclaim our past, which is distorted by them. We will talk about this in post-colonialism as well. So history being fixed or a subject being fixed. Ashwati as a teacher being fixed with a certain such and such qualities or such and such problems, such and such characteristics. You cannot always say that every human being is liable to change. Your stand towards one person may change, your stand towards one particular ideology may change, one politics may change, one religion may change, even your idea towards a nation may change, different nations may change. So this is the way subject. So subject means you are whatever subject. What do you mean by subject? What is not object? Not just that. Whatever is part and parcel of your personality, your life, your thinking, your approach towards problems or happiness, emotions, everything is part of your subjectivity. Can you ever say that you are the same subject? You hold the same idea, same strand that you held at age 10 No, none of you can claim. Even think about your personality, your subjectivity. Once you were attending the offline sessions, and what about your subjectivity approach towards learning, teaching, studies, perfectionism, attentiveness, once you get lessons online? Different, these are different. The idea of a unitary end of history and the subject, it's something which is not to be told about. But those who are sticking on to grand narratives yet will not be able to grasp these things. Okay? Yes. So